She's learning to keep a little bit of balance in herself. She's learning to take time out for herself. And she's planning for her future as she thinks about where could she buy a house in a hill station. And this then takes me to what I believe to be an extraordinary chart. Yesterday, Sophia was talking about foreverness and Beatles. And I think there hasn't been a generation over the last centuries that hasn't come to India to find their own inner self. This is the mecca of spirituality. But it's part of your DNA. And gratitude, appreciation and compassion and forgiveness are the things that we consider in our lives to be important, but this is part of your life. And Indian women today are demonstrating this deep sense of gratitude. And I have some quotes here, whether it's thanks to having a great family, or the bottom where there's a woman who's actually saying, Chennai is a city that I feel safe to dress myself and wear my diamonds or jewelry on the streets. It's an extraordinary sense of being grateful of the environment she lives in, and even just being on her own. And that sense of gratitude of being alive and having a job and success. And then they look at the women who have purpose. So it's not just the young generation, but it's the whole overall generation. And I think, again, thanks to the presentation from BCG and also from Ronnie talking about philanthropy, is that there is a great sense of giving back as well. And so the young women are quite active in their communities, and we see here, for example, a woman who's admiring her mother-in-law who's saying, yeah, she does kiddie parties, but at the same time, she's spiritual. She's learning to read and deepen her knowledge. Or at the same time, she herself who's going off and teaching lessons on the street to children and then giving them a snack. And it's quite extraordinary then to say that 92% of women in India are actually actively engaged in making their community a better place. They're not asking for money, they're just doing it out of their own goodwill and dedication to their environments and to the people, and it's much higher than any of the other markets that we look at. And then, of course, women coach women, and we wouldn't want to call it a sisterhood, but in a certain sense, the struggle, I think, is shared, and so together there's a sense of connection, and so women are helping women along the way. And if I can help Shweta by introducing to a couple of women that we work with, I have 27 that I work with, and we have 3 men, so we have lots to share with you. But again, it's a sense of young women helping young women progress in today's society. And brands, again, are looking at this. And last year, again, there was a campaign done by Brook Red Label Tea, in which they had the hashtag #UnStereotype, in which they talked about gender diversity, even from the early ages of children growing up. If you haven't seen it, it's worth having a look. And that sort of just gives you a sort of slow sort of introduction into how we're looking at women today as a brand, and I think you may be looking at in a slightly different way as you have more and more women working within your environments, but also knocking on your doors. Because if you look at that pyramid from BCG, and it's becoming narrower and a little bit more straighter, 50% of that population is going to be women who have the strength and the economic power to go off and buy what they want to buy for themselves. And then we talk briefly about consumption and digital, and this is just factual and anecdotal data, but fascinating to see that if we look at the Facebook users around the world, number 1 is India, at 36% of the age of 18 to 24. And again, also in Instagram, the 3rd largest market in the world. So what does that mean for us? Again, from the BCG group, digital is going to be influencing more and more the choices that we make, how we discover brands, how we choose brands, and the data they were talking about is $30 billion worth of decisions that will be made through digital space and impacting between 60 to 70% even of the fashion industry, which is very important for us because when we look at the fashion industry and we look at influencers and how influencers today are working within the digital space and within our communities, they're changing our trends, they're creating new rules for us. We've talked many times over about fusion and how East meets West and how you integrate fashion. But again, we'll be seeing more and more of this fashion trend change. And this is what a woman looks like today. It's discouraging for us on sometimes because we always love to see beautifully dressed people. I myself have taken off my tie and sometimes scolded, but traditions have moved on, and Stephen will tell us that when he comes back from San Francisco that the dress code is a t-shirt. And so we as diamond industry have to change the rules in how we engage with the way people are dressing and giving more meaning and purpose to the designs that we make. And so I have to thank Federica, Greta, Juliana, Rita, Amit, and all the manufacturers who are sitting around us today. You may not know this, but in 6 months, over 250 collections have been designed for you to enjoy and to think about. And I'm already being asked, when is the next collection going to be designed after the forum? But it's really about this ability of ours to create everyday wear for consumers and women to be able to pick and choose from to be part of their attire. And this takes me to a very important point, is that the luxury consumption is beginning to shift, and we need to be mindful of this shift that we have to take. Historically, diamonds and jewelry has all been about the social status, showing what we can afford. And the young consumers today, we need to take them to the next step. We've seen that they're waiting for us. There's a sense of desire from them as they think about themselves and their evolutions, their own milestones, the things that they want to celebrate for themselves. And we've talked many years about what are these milestones. They make their own milestones. And so what we need to do is we need to bring purpose into the diamonds that we're designing for them and the jewelry that we're designing. And that purpose then becomes a meaningful expression for themselves. I think that this is an important statement because what it says to us is that in the past, this was the mindset. Indian women were thinking about pieces. They were saying, I had my heart set on a 3-carat earrings. I wanted the bangles. I needed to build my collection. And then she goes on to say, but somehow the greed is no longer there. So her mind is saying, I bought all the pieces I need. What she's not thinking about is, why is she buying these pieces? What do they represent to her? And our challenge then is to help these pieces make sense to her. And I think this quote sort of sums it up. For me personally, I want jewelry to be equivalent to what many would feel about a tattoo. I don't know how many of you have tattoos, but tattoos really are a statement and a story of personal meaning that you wear with pride, and we would want consumers to wear their diamond jewelry with pride. So again, when we're looking at design and when you're thinking about your collections and you're thinking about your purchases, we're looking at designing wearable, everyday jewelry. You may tell me that's true, and we're already doing it, but more. Diamonds that are the focus of the conversation, not the jewelry itself, and diamonds that celebrate the individual growth of a woman in her journey. The rarest diamond makes it feel like you're the diamond. You are that rare diamond of a person. So when you put it on, you become that. And that is a quote that came from an Indian woman, and I think it sums up, in a certain sense, exactly what we're trying to accomplish. So diamond jewelry that celebrates the unique, confident, strong, and bold Indian woman who lives to love her meaningful and purposeful life. And so our invitation to the women of India, and through the campaign work that we'll be developing with Sachin and his team, is really to say to women, to be you and to be a diamond. And that's it. Thank you very much.